Hello, let's talk about the Penguin. Spoilers ahead. I first want to get out of the way and say that yes, if you are a common person on my channel, I know it might be a little strange for me to start talking about like comic book media, especially with my politics, but it's fiction, and I enjoy a lot of the stories. I've been very vocal about how I do not like modern superhero media, and especially the way that it is used for propaganda and militarization, and is usually very nationalistic and other things like that. But fundamentally, I do believe that comic books serve a very important purpose and standpoint in literature, and that's not just like the big two of Marvel and DC, but like anything with indie comics and so on. It is a great form of storytelling, and there are great stories out there to be told that really do align with my politics. But in terms of superheroes, most don't. But there is still a lot of great progressive stories out there and heroes. I mean, look at fucking Green Arrow. Um, and all sorts of other stuff, right? You look at the history of John Stewart with Neil Adams and all sorts of other stuff, right? It's pretty important stuff, especially to like cultural, pop culture and so on and so forth, especially as a guy who grew up reading and learned to appreciate and view them through new lenses and interpretate them in certain ways. But I definitely do see a lot of the issues with modern comic books and old comic books, especially the purpose that they serve politically. But hey, they're still fiction at the end of the day, and you can still enjoy them and all sorts of other stuff. So let's get, with that small little spiel out of the way, let's talk about the Penguin. I've been excited for the Penguin for a pretty long time, ever since it was announced, because it's part of Matt Reeves' universe, and the Batman is my favorite Batman movie ever. It is, bar none, the best Batman film. I think it blows Dark Knight out of the water, especially because it doesn't have that weird sense of post 9/11 war on terror stuff going on with it. And I know a lot of people have issues with that, but I do want to say that I do really like the Nolan trilogy as films and the way that they are made and so on and so forth, and the acting. I think they are incredible, but when looking at them through certain lenses, they are pretty problematic. And the Batman is too, especially because of the fact that it does kind of come off as pro cop. Oh, he had a right idea, but oh, we can't really have like explain that, right? This guy wants change, societal change, and punishing the elite and everything like that. But oh, let's just make him go kill a bunch of innocent people at the end. Now, I am of the interpretation that the end of the Batman is it fits in line with the Riddler, because he isn't just like the typical thing with a lot of superhero media of like, oh well, they're revolutionaries but they're just down the wrong path, and that like weird cop out bullshit. um it's about the fact that yeah, he has an interesting idea, but deep down it is also fascistic, right? It's incel, right? Like, that's why he's garnered this cult of personality and becomes a serial killer, who takes pleasure in doing these sorts of things, even if from a surface level it sounds like he is right. It does get into very nitty gritty things about like psychopathy and so on and so forth, and even like sociology and so on and so forth, which is a lot of gross oversimplification. But this is not the Batman video. And obviously the Batman does kind of feel pretty pro cop, but at the same time, not at the because he punches cops. So it's one of those strange way that it's like yes, it is, but also no, it isn't. It's it's weird, almost kind of liberal uh, line there. But anyway, enough with that politics stuff. Let's actually get into talking about the Penguin. I did like it. I really did. I thought that, God, wow. Oh my God. I want to start off by saying that I think that changing Oswald Cobblepot to Oswald Cobb is stupid on the surface, but actually is pretty genius because it ties into potentially things like the Court of Owls, and the Court of Owls is a pretty interesting thing within the Batman universe, and I feel that they will definitely be playing a um, a role in this franchise going forward. At least I hope so, because it brings up a lot of interesting ideas that won't be explored in the best way possible because they're, you know, huge multi-billion-dollar movies. They're not going to be going as radical as they possibly could, but with progressive themes and ideas and so on and so forth. But I definitely think that that's why he was named Cobb, because if those for those of you who don't know, the Court of Owls has a prominent family, and the first Talon was named Cobb. Um, so there is that. As well, I really did enjoy the narrative of the Penguin, especially given the fact that Batman doesn't show up. Again, spoilers, but I already said that in the very beginning. He does show up in the very end via the bat signal, um, which I thought was really good. Uh, I literally did clap at that. Uh, and it made me very happy to see that because I thought they would be very weird to kind of not tie that in to the franchise and the overarching story, because it then feels like another one of those like non-canon things or just separate. Uh, but man, I the acting in this show is fucking phenomenal. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Jesus, right? Obviously, there's a problem with putting a guy in the fat suit, right? But like, shit, he put his fucking foot in that shit. He absolutely played the hell out of Penguin. And I like that they actually call him Penguin. I like that they call him the Penguin, and it's not just a funny thing to be like MCU point and laugh at, right? It's actually something taken seriously and is actually like reinterpreted into him having like a club foot and so on and so forth. That's why he waddles. Um, his relationship with his mother and the way that he is no longer this washed up billionaire um, from a fortune family, but is now like poverty, low income, like upbringing, right, in Jersey. And I find that incredibly interesting because it does lead a lot of connections to The Sopranos, which has those connections are all over the place in this show, right? If you've watched The Sopranos, you know that it's everywhere whenever you watch it. Even in the first episode, it's all over the place, right? Even whenever he goes to visit his mom's house, the house looks exactly like the mom's house in The Sopranos. Um, so yeah, it is very much about like gangster mafia, and like other thing kind of media, and it really does sink its teeth into that, and it brings up a lot of different tropes and a lot of different themes that are brought up in those, um, such as like the weird idea of like coming together as a mob community, and oh, they're stepping on us, the rich elite, so we also have to be the rich elite, but in a in a petite way, right? And we have to rule over Gotham and all this other stuff. And it is very, very interesting narrative to watch and unfold. It is also very extremely entertaining. The visual effects, the action set pieces, the gunplay, the acting. Wow, I forget her name, but Sophia Gigante slash Falcone, her actress, she loves the comics, right? I saw the interview with her. She loves the source material, and she like points out things from like Long Halloween, Dark Victory, which are very mob focused, organized crime centric stories in the Batman mythos and canon, and are the central things are the Falcones and the Maronis, right? So that is awesome to see that an actor is so deep into that lore. It's kind of like watching people that like write Warhammer be very into the books, right? Like Henry Cavill. Um, but yeah, definitely they they just did so well on this show. I think overall I would definitely give it like a 7 out of 10. There are some points where I'm like, this could have been shorter, this could have been longer, this was rushed. But one of the standouts is Vic. I I saw a lot of people think that he might have became Zaz. I did not think I did not want that to happen, especially because of some of the stuff that could have been brought up from that. Um, but Vic is an awesome character. I think, especially for, unfortunately, again, spoilers, that he does end up dying in the end. Cobb kills him, and I sat there and I was like, "Holy shit!" And there's a lot of fake out deaths in this show, especially with Vic. There's a lot of death flags, but he never gets it. And then at the very end, it's by the guy that he saw almost like a father figure, right? And uh, Oswald's mom, her actress, does an absolute fantastic job. And there's also like some deep, like narrative connections too, to like what she was a part of whenever the brothers were young. Like from what I was interpreting and as I was watching, it's pretty blatant that she was a part of the mob. She had connections to the mob. Um, like everyone knew her, right? She had some sort of connection, some sort of history, something along those lines. It's never really explained, but did lead her to know Rex, which is the guy that Oz looked up to as a kid. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's the guy with the golden car that like walked around, helped people, and so on and so forth. Um, and is the guy that he says the typical, stereotypical like mafioso, mob boss, capo, like speech at the very first episode about like his family and his backstory and so on and so forth. And I thought that was awesome. Um, and the dialogue is extremely well written. It is extremely tight in this. In this, like, I'm honestly like in terms of character arcs, I'm really glad that there is no positive character arc in terms of like becoming better or realization or so on and so forth. Because these are guys are fucking psychopaths, like right, like Oswald is a lunatic. He is one of the most pathetic people that I've ever watched on television while also actively wanting to see him succeed because it pushes the narrative forward. Um, right? Like he doesn't. He like gets more mature and he becomes a better penguin and mob boss, but he doesn't become a better person. He doesn't become a better man. He ends up killing the very kid that he took in at the very first episode, right? That is like a negative character arc. He gets worse while also going up through the ranks and everything. And obviously, maybe there's some symbolism purposefully there about how to become an elite in Gotham, you have to step on others to rise the ranks of like the ladder and become an elite. Because just like the corporate elite in Gotham, like the Waynes, though I know there is the argument that the Waynes don't count, but I definitely do say that they count, even if they were philanthropic. Uh, but also the elite of the underworld, right? Like the Maronis and the Falcones were literal billionaires, right? Through their drug smuggling, their gun running, their sex trafficking, and so on and so forth, right? So and like their racketeering and all these other things, they just didn't do it officially. So there is definitely some of those interpretations that can be there. But again, interpretation and symbolism, it might not have actually been there, but it was definitely something interesting that I did see. Um, in terms of, man, I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Like set design, I thought the set design was fantastic. I really do enjoy, like thematically, how he goes from like a penthouse, kind of in the mid level, to then being in the gutter in the zoo. As a penguin. I think I also really like that. And then being at the top of the penthouse and the lounge and so on and so forth. And you can clearly tell, I'm saying that a lot, so on and so forth. I say that because I hope that you guys can understand what I'm saying, and like following my line of thinking. And you've also watched the show. But the lounge most certainly is going to be the Iceberg Lounge, right? Because in a lot of media, the Iceberg Lounge is a club. It is a club that you see in the Batman, but it is also like a country club in a way too, right? It's where like rich people go. It's where like there is like the normal club down the first floor, but like the upper floors, that's for like Gotham's elite. That's where you will see shady deals from the inner workings of like the precinct, uh, the politicians, the DA, and all these other people that just make Gotham the shithole that it is, like trading deals and everything like that, and like stepping on the class beneath them to do so. Um, so yeah, it's pretty nice to see that that like background storytelling going on. I'm trying to think of some other stuff because I don't want to just keep saying, "Oh, it's so good, it's really good, it's really good, go watch it." I'm trying to like actually give some critique, especially because I watched it weekly. I did not binge it all at once. Man, I'm sure that there is stuff to talk about in the comments to have a conversation about. Um, Man, yeah. Colin Farrell's great. Sofia Gigante's like actress is great. I'm okay with Falcone, his actor being replaced, which is really funny because he's like, oh, it has violence against women, despite the fact that like in the first movie he almost chokes out Selena. And speaking of Selena, I think it's awesome that the Hangman is talking to Catwoman, who's connected to Batman, and they're all connected to the Penguin. It's one of those symbolic things that has been touched upon in a lot of Batman media that Gotham is a zoo. It is, it is like a like realization and manifestation of like of nature, right? And like the animal kingdom and so on and like all these other things. uh that's why you have so many like animal themed villains that like play into their animal and things like that, which I find incredibly interesting. I'm glad that they maybe unintentionally tied into, but knowing Matt Reeves and the way that he really tightly tells a story, it was probably purposeful. um the direction and the cinematography was also great. It was such a breath of fresh air to see in 2024, 2 years after the Batman released, which had some jaw-dropping cinematography and photography work in the movie in terms of color grading and other things. To see that again, especially after seeing like, unfortunately, me watching some of the other MCU movies just to see how bad they've gotten, where it's just flat, bland, like camera work, camera angles, and all this other stuff that is just so mediocre and has no creativity behind it. And I mean, why would it have creativity whenever they put crunch time on their workers and force them to churn out slop that just rakes in billions for them? So yeah, I overall I really did like the Penguin. I don't want a season two, honestly. I think that where we ended is perfect for developing him as a character going forward to be told through maybe background books, comics, like background details and upcoming movies and so on and so forth. With that, because I do really think that this franchise will not just be a trilogy. It's not just going to be another three movie thing and be done. I do really want it to be like a universe. I know how oversaturated it is, but man, these movies are really good, and I want to see how they interpret some of these things. And I really don't want them to just be, oh well, Mr. Freeze is a guy who freezes people with liquid nitrogen. I want them to try and go into the supernatural, right? Like, I don't want grounded. We saw fucking Batman get slammed at hundreds of miles an hour into a bridge and then get up and walk off and then kept fighting for the rest of the night. That's not grounded. That shit would have put Bale out of commission in the Nolan verse. Um, I don't think that like Gentleman Ghost. I do agree with the take that that's a little too far for fantastical. It's a straight up ghost. But people like Killer Croc, who can be explained like scientifically or pseudoscientifically with supernatural elements could work. Even someone like Grundy could work too. Um, and I really do hope that somehow, if they do work with the Joker, I don't want the Joker. I think the Joker's so lame, especially with recent portrayals of him. It's just I'm so bored of the Joker. I do think that uh, if I don't want him just to be another like deformed Joker, right? I want him to like be the almost like perfect looking guy that's just crazy because of the reflection of that and so on, and I'm going to keep repeating myself, but the way that he like reflects humanity and the dark side of humanity, and how he just wants chaos. And then there's also the idea that Batman is just keeping the status quo while Joker wants chaos just for chaos sakes, and that there is absolutely like a middle ground there. Um, they can, not to say that they can compromise and work together, but like, yeah, Gotham itself just needs to be changed. It needs to be like, it needs no man's land to happen, and it needs the masses to work together, dog. It like, it does not just need Batman. Um, but that is a fucking huge can of words I'm not getting into in this video. Um, so yeah, I really did enjoy the Penguin. I did. I think it was great, and I can't wait to see what else comes from Matt Reeves. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to support me, I have a Patreon down below, as well as $2.50 a month. You can also join for free. You'll get a monthly shout out if you're free. As well, you will get to talk to me directly. You get to give me money if you want to. But that's your hard-earned money, so use it however you want. Other than that, there's a Cash App for a one-time donation. Leave a comment down below. Let's start a conversation. Be civil, please. Don't come in here complaining about something that I said, or it's like, oh, I'm being too woke, I'm being too political. I don't give a shit. Just go. Um, Other than that, yeah. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Click.